She has not paid any child support that this court ordered. She was supposed to pay $300 a month for child support. None of that has been provided.
But I also have my own bills to pay, and I can't do that off of $9 an hour, which is what I'm making right now.
Then at some point, she moved in with another man who became her boyfriend and who she was involved with. How are you going to pay for the children if you have all of these other bills that you can't afford to give any funds for the children?
This is in the interest of Perez minor children, non-custodial party being Justin Perez, custodial party being Savannah Hersey. This matter before the court on a written petition to the second parent challenge from the AOP. We've had several hearings, several lawyers. Court will know for the record that both parties are present today, that the ad litem for the children are present today, that the ad litem for the mother, Ms. Hersey, is present today. The court appointed due to the fact that there was a Colorado CPS investigation at one time, and I'm not sure where that is. Hopefully we got an update on all that. Anyway, the court will note that all counsel are present. The state counsel is present. Mr. Perez's counsel is present, and both Mr. Perez and Ms. Hersey are present. I'm going to start with the state. If Mr. Diamond wishes to make a statement or waive one, then I'm going to go to Ms. Kuehl. Then I'm going to go to Ms. Kuzak, and then I'm going to Ms. Farah. In that order, please. So at this time, I'll ask Mr. Diamond for his opening if he wishes to give one, and we'll take it from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Very briefly, as the court knows, the state's policy is to ask for guideline child support and guideline medical support. The state also realizes the court has some pretty weighty things to decide here, and the state will live with whatever the court decides.
Okay. All right. Again, okay, Ms. Kuehl, opening, please. And again, sorry for the ambush stuff earlier, but based on, I don't like to say the court has predetermined what's going to do one way or the other, but weighing the information. And if I'm looking at your client, then I'll maybe doing some things down the path here. And if I'm looking at her, I may be doing some things down the path also. Because again, but let me get some updated information and let's see what we're going to end up doing with this one, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. If it may please the court, opposing counsels, we are here today, Your Honor, for final hearing. My client, Mr. Perez, is asking to be appointed as joint managing conservators with him, the primary conservator. I think the evidence will show that he has had a stable environment for these children and has financially and physically taken care of these children on his own since June 9th. He has done and gone above and beyond to make sure that mom has had a relationship with both of the girls, to include offering to pay for flights for her to come trick or treat with the kids, driving them numerous locations so that they can have visitation with their mother. He knows they love their mother and he wants their mother to be involved in their life, but he does not feel that it would be stable at this time. Since our last hearing, which was just in September, there's been limited visits and contact from mom. Mom actually did not take her first visit that you had actually ordered after the last hearing. Eventually, she moved up to Colorado back with her husband. Then at some point, she moved in with another man who became her boyfriend and who she was involved with in Colorado still, but in another city. At some point, she finally came back to Texas and has been here since November 23rd is my client's understanding on that. She has only had 5 FaceTimes with these children since our September 13th hearing, and she's only had 2 periods of visitation, and the first period of visitation was on November 23rd. So she went for several months without seeing the children. My concern and my client's concern is, mom does not have stability with the home. She doesn't have stability with the job. It's from what we've just found out, she's borrowing her father's vehicle right now. But she has not paid any child support that this court ordered. She was supposed to pay $300 a month for child support beginning October 1 and $50 for medical beginning October 1, and none of that has been provided. Anytime my client does provide everything that the children need, from clothing to shoes to diapers, and when it's returned, the things are empty. Some of the clothes are not even returned with the children. My client's been paying for daycare on his own. He's been taking care of the girls. They are doing well and thriving. And he just wants what's best for his children. He is asking that mom have some, set visitation, standard possession order As always, he is going to be willing to work with her as he's done thus far, because he wants to ensure that she is involved in their life, and he's asking for guideline support so he has some assistance for these two little girls.
All right, thank you very much.
I'm sorry, did you say Ms. Cusack?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Judge. Judge, the evidence is going to show that the kids, their routine prior to court intervention was that these parents were sharing possession 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off. So this has not been a situation where Mr. Perez has had the children all of this time without support. They shared possession. When there was a chance that Mr. Perez would pay child support, he represented, I think, to the court in a hearing that he was in support of the split possession. He was in support of a 50-50 possession. He wanted no child support established. As the courts became involved because of the CPS allegation, which that has been represented to the court, that has resolved itself, that has been ruled out. There was an allegation of abuse, and they were investigating everyone in Colorado, which included my client, and then the CPS basically bowed out. My client will be able to testify that that the babysitter had admitted to spanking the children. So as far as that allegation goes, CPS stepped in, and there really wasn't anything that my client could do in that situation. So now she's trying to gain her footage, and so what she has done is she has sought to move closer to try to facilitate the situation, to facilitate a 2 week on, 2 week off possession schedule that the whole family was fine with before, and that this is the status quo. This is what the kids know. And so that's what she's asking the court to do. As far as the finances go, my client, this isn't a situation where she's had instability over the years. She's had instability recently because she moved from Colorado to here. So since the last hearing, she has moved, she has gained a job. She's earning, I think she'll say that she's just started a job at $9 an hour. Probably not full time at this point. She is living with her father, but she is also paying bills, including rent and groceries. And so she's had a lot of transition, but it's not because she lacks stability. It's because she's trying to create stability for her girls. And so she would like to have continue what was before, the 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off. She'll represent to the court that that's in the best interest of the girls.
All right,
Sir. Excuse me. Your Honor, this is a case that's been pending for over a year now.
Oh, yeah.
And since this case started, I agree that with Ms. Cusack that initially these parties did have a split possession schedule where the children were spending equal time with both parents. When you left Mr. Harris's home, why did you not move back to Texas at that time?
I could not put together the funds to move back to Texas. It cost me about $2,000 to move there before.
Okay, so the reason that you moved in with Mr. Rigby was because you just couldn't afford to make it to Texas. You could afford to move in with Mr. Rigby, but you couldn't afford to move back home.
Yes.
Okay. Right. And I believe you testified that you make $9.25 an hour?
Make $9 even an hour.
$9 even. Okay. And what are your work hours?
Usually 7 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Okay. And you testified that your goal is to move back to Central Texas. Is that correct?
Yes.
Go ahead. What is the timetable for that?
I have to talk to the housing company or people in Temple. I don't know what their wait list looks like right now. I'm also going to talk to the Crockett housing people. I know that's not Central Texas, but at least I'd be on my own and getting somewhere, at least. But the Temple one, I'm concerned that their wait list is probably going to be over a year.
Okay. So at this point, saying, well, you don't have any reasonable expectation that you're going to be back in Bell County within the next year.
I'm trying to be. I'm doing everything I can to be there by April of next year, I'm hoping. But again, I've got to have somewhere to live. So
Sure. No, I understand. Okay. Does Mr. Harris still have any contact with the girls?
no,
And does their former caretaker, Megan, have any contact with the girls?
absolutely not.
And do you believe that's in the girls' best interest for there to be an injunction that neither one of them have any contact with the girls? Is that correct?
Yes.
You don't have any concerns with regard to Mr. Perez's care of your daughters. The reason that you do not want him to have primary is because you want to share equal time. You don't believe that there is any reason that the girls would be in any kind of danger with him.
Yes.
House of witness.
All right, then. That's all right. Mr. Diamond, I'm just taking you out of the mix automatically. Mr. Diamond, you're a witness.
Nothing, Your Honor.
All right, then. Ms. Cusack, anything on redirect?
Your Honor, I haven't had a chance to question her either.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought those objections. I thought you were okay. I'm sorry. I thought you did. All right. Sorry about that. All right, Ms. Cusack, you're a witness. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
All right, Ms.
Thank
Cusack.
you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I got to start this other hearing in 8 minutes. So that's good. Guys, grab your calendars. Let's see when we can get this thing right. Is any of y'all working anytime next week after Christmas, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday at your offices? If not, after New Year, because it looks like the judge is not going to the annual luncheon with the. Oh, okay. I'm supposed to have a meeting with my boss on the Thursday after New Year's, but that's not looking very that's not looking very good right now. So I'll be here on I guess that's the third or the fourth. So anyway, what's first off, is anybody working next week at any day?
I am technically off, but if I can make myself available for a Zoom if we can get this thing done.
All right, then. How about you, Mr. Diamond? What's your schedule? Are y'all working at all next week anytime?
I'm off. I don't know what our somebody will be in the office. I don't know if that time is scheduled for something else, but I don't know that I have the authority to even say this. But Your Honor, I would trust the court to be reasonable. If the court wanted to just give me the terms of the order, I'd be happy to draft it, even if we don't have a representative. I'm sure the court will be reasonable with whatever the decision is. The court would be willing to proceed without an OAG present.
I probably would, based on these circumstances. It's really between the lawyers at this point. Ms. Kuehl.
Same thing as Ms. Farah. I'm technically supposed to be off, but if we can finalize this, I know my client would like to have some closure and get it done.
All right, then. So next, let me look at what the calendar is next week. All right, so we're definitely going to be closed. Everybody's closed. Bell County opens back up on the 27th, 28th, or 29th. Morning or afternoon, folks. I could make it work for any of those days, any of those times, which works best for y'all, especially you, Ms. Farah, and Ms. Kuehl, and Ms. Cusack, obviously.
I would prefer morning, and I'd prefer Wednesday or Thursday if possible, so we don't work on Friday.
Okay, so Wednesday or Thursday morning, can do this. I'll let everybody sleep a little late. We can start the hearing around 10 o'clock, and we can finish, and we'll go to its finish. So Wednesday, the 27th at 10 a.m. Would that work for everyone? Same Zoom code?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Perez, can you get that to work?
All right.
Yes, Your Honor.
Can you get that to work, ma'am? All right.
I can too.
My apologies. I thought there would be something negotiated, but hey, I'm not going to shortchange these folks one way or the other. I want to hear everything that's appropriate and make a proper decision, because I'm looking at these pictures of these two little girls and they look precious, and yeah, they are what they are. All right. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and move the Zoom code over to this coming Wednesday at 10 a.m. I'll let everybody run as long as they want to. You got the rest of the day. I don't anticipate it's going to take the rest of the day, but I'll give you that entire time. And again, I'm sorry that we didn't get to wrap this up today. And I'll go ahead and let everybody go. And then when we come back on the 20th at 10 a.m., Ms. Kuehl, you're up, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. And Mr. Diamond, if you can't get someone to sit in for you, just let me know. Well, just let me know by email, and we will proceed again. Because right now, this is everything we're dealing with custody. I got the child support information, so the only thing that will come down the pike new is Miss Hersink may have a paycheck by then, but it doesn't sound like it. So, okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, everybody, very much. Y'all free to go, and everybody have a Merry Christmas, and I'll see everybody before I have to wish them a Happy New Year. Okay. Thank you, guys. We're off the record.
Yes.
The court will know for the record that we're now on YouTube on calls number 22 FAM 331-945-4. Sorry, and you may continue with the witness at this time, Ms. Keel. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Hersink, are you able to hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure my connection was good. When we were last here, I was going to begin asking you questions. You and Mr. Perez had met on December 17th to exchange the girls in custody. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the original plan was for you to have them until December 31st, which would be a 2-week period. Is that correct?
Yes.
That plan has actually changed, and Mr. Perez is coming to pick up the girls today. Is that correct?
I'm actually meeting him halfway. My grandpa's nice enough to let me do that. My sister wrecked our car, so I don't have a car at the moment. So, yes, I'm meeting him halfway.
Okay, so you're going to meet him halfway, and the reason for that is because you contacted him on Christmas to let him know that you needed him to get the girls early because you don't have a babysitter. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that your sister had wrecked the car that you were using?
Yes.
Okay, so you said you're borrowing your grandfather's vehicle.
He's going with me.
Okay. And so do you have any idea when you might be able to get transportation?
As of right now, I mean, it's probably not going to be till next year. My dad's going to look at it this weekend to see if he can fix it this weekend, at least temporarily. But it probably won't be able to be used to meet him halfway for a couple of months.
Okay, so you're not going to be able to have any reliable, transportation for a few months until you can figure something out.
Yes and no. I mean, my grandpa, he lives about an hour away, but I'm sure he'd be more than happy to help him and help Justin meet them so it's easier on him.
Okay. And your babysitter, you had a babysitter, you said her name was Abigail, is that correct?
Yes.
What's going on with Abigail?
Last week, her newborn baby got sick with RSV, and my two were sick as well. And then she ended up getting sick on Christmas, and they're out of town until next week for the holidays.
So when do you think she's going to be available to start actually watching the girls to assist you?
The next time they'll be here. She'll be available next Monday, but I won't have them then, but the next time they're here, she will be available.
Okay. And do you have someone as a backup if her or her children get sick?
Yes.
Okay. And who is that?
It's my grandpa and my little sister.
And how old is your sister?
She'll be 17 next month.
Does she go to school?
Not right now, no. She's on break, but when she goes to break, it'd be my grandpa. I mean, my dad's here too, and...
Okay. And you said your normal work hours are 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. right now?
Yes.
And have you been doing any of that work or doing any training yet?
Yes, I've been out of training.
Okay. And so when do you officially work? Are you working this week? Is it until next week?
I've been working for the last 2.5 weeks.
Okay. So have you gotten a paycheck yet?
No.
Okay. Do you know when your first paycheck will be?
January 1st. I only work 3 days a week. That's all he's scheduling me right now.
Have you asked if you can work any more than that?
Yes, I've tried.
And what was the response from your employer?
He doesn't have the hours right now.
And so are you looking for another employer to where you can work more than 3 hours a week?
I'm looking for a second job.
Okay. And obviously you're aware that there was child support that you were supposed to start paying in medical as of October 1st. And you said you were having problems with the code. Did you try mailing in a money order or a payment?
No.
Is there a reason why?
I didn't want it to get lost. I've had that happen multiple times.
Did you try giving directly to Mr. Perez to where we could have then recognized that in court to give you credit for that, so he would have had that assistance for the girls?
No, because I didn't want to. I wanted to do everything professionally, not on the side.
Okay, but don't you think it would have been beneficial for Mr. Perez to have at least some type of support for the girls?
Yes.
Okay. You stated that you can't do the child support. You understand that if you're not able to pay the child support that was ordered, then you're not going to be able to have the funds to take care of the girls on a regular basis, because you are only ordered to pay $300 a month and $50 for medical. And you understand that the expense for the girls is going to be way more than $350 a month.
Well, yes, but I also have my own bills to pay and my own way to make a living. And I can't do that off of $9 an hour, which is what I'm making right now. So I pay rent and I pay for groceries and I pay for my phone bill and all of these things and my storage unit that I still have in Colorado. So I have all these other things to pay as well that add up to about $800. When my checks are only $200-300 at a time.
Okay, so Ms. Hersink, how are you going to pay for the children if you have all of these other bills that you can't afford to give any funds for the children?
Because my bills, they get put in front of my bills. If they need diapers, food, juice, anything, they come first. I don't, if I let my phone shut off, if that's what I have to do. My dad buys the groceries if that's what I have to do.
But you haven't done that since our last hearing that we had in September. You understand that? I
have done that. I have given them diapers and I've...
Ma'am, here's the deal. Listen to the question and answer the question. We're talking about child support. We're not talking about border items, all right? We're talking about, have you paid money to the father in any manner, way, shape, or form? So now, cash. All right? Understood?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you.
When did you start this new job?
The 11th of December.
Okay, so from September 13th when we were in court until then, did you work anywhere?
Yes, I worked at Big O in Colorado.
And how long did you work there?
September to November to Thanksgiving, because I moved back here.
Okay, and where was that at? Was that in Colorado Springs or?
It's Canyon City.
And is that where your boyfriend was?
Yes.
And how much were you making at the Big O?
$16 an hour.
And how many hours a week were you working?
I don't know.
Or were you working full time?
At least 30, but I don't know.
And so that ranged from week to week is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, so you are saying you worked at least 40 hours a week at $16. So you were making $480 a week?
At least 30. 30.
Okay, 30 times 16 is $480. So you were making at least that per week.
You did say 40, ma'am. So yeah.
Sorry, Your Honor. Okay, so Ms. Hersink, you were working at least 30 hours a week at $16 an hour, which means you were making at least $480 a week.
Yes.
And you couldn't send any money home to the girls.
No.
And you didn't see the girls in September after the hearing like you said you were going to see them. Is that correct?
Yes, I had an emergency at home. I had to get back.
Okay. And you didn't see the girls at all in October?
No, because I couldn't afford it.
Okay, but Mr. Perez volunteered to have you to fly you home so you could be with the girls for Halloween. I
couldn't get the time off work.
Okay.
If I went anyway, it was a risk of losing my job.
Okay. And then in November, you didn't come see the girls until Thanksgiving. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you said both of the girls are staying on a blow-up mattress right now when they are with you?
Yes, as am I.
So you have the two girls and yourself sleeping in a bed together
No.
on a blow-up.
Peyton has her own bed, and Paisley sleeps in a pack and play.
Okay,
Or in
so
the
you
bed
have-
with her aunt, because that's just, she cries in the middle of the night. They're
Okay,
not,
so
we're not all on one bed.
okay. And so when she sleeps with her sister, you're referring to your 17-year-old sister?
Yes.
And what is her name?
Clara.
Clara. Okay. So when she sleeps with Clara, does Clara have a bed or does she have a blow-up mattress?
No, she has a bed.
Okay. Is Clara a light sleeper?
Yes.
Okay. So you have no concerns of her possibly rolling over on your daughter during the night?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Just to follow up a little, you had testified earlier that the babysitter admitted to spanking your children. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you gave her permission to spank the girls. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Did you ever see any marks on the children after you had picked them up from the babysitter?
No.
Did you ever bring up any concerns with the babysitter about her spanking your children and leaving any physical marks on them?
I had spoken to her and told her that we do a tap on the butt, not a full-on spank, as this kind of thing could have happened. It wasn't a you can full-on spank my child.
Okay. But you understand those bruises and all those marks on your daughters were not just one occurrence. You could tell that there was multiple stages of bruising on them.
I'm aware of that.
And so you didn't see any of that prior to sending them back to the babysitter?
No, I did not.
Were you the one bathing them and taking care of them, or was your husband doing that?
I was doing it as well, but we did not notice any marks at all. I would have noticed that as their mother. I would have noticed.
But you understand how that's concerning to me and to Mr. Perez, because there were so many different marks and bruises on them.
They're little kids. They fall and they trip.
Ms. Hersink, and Ms. Kuehl, let's make it a question, okay? Let's stop this argument stuff. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. I'm going to go ahead and pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, then. I'm not sure which order we were doing before, but like I said, I'm going to give everybody another chance and an update. So I'll go to you at this time, Ms. Kuzak.
Allison, you're muted.
Thank you. Ms. Hersink, since the last time we spoke, since the last hearing, not the last one a week ago, but the one prior to that, you discovered that you were in a situation where you needed to get back home, correct? Like you needed to get back to Texas, correct? And so in a short period of time, meaning about a month, you managed to pack up your belongings and put them in storage, right?
Yes.
You moved across several states and came back to Texas, right?
Yes.
You managed to find another job, correct?
Yes.
Are you currently doing the most that you can right now to put yourself in a better and more stable financial position? Is that kind of the whole as far as visitation, do you want as much time as possible with your kids?
Yes.
I mean, you're asking for primary custody, correct? Or at least 50-50,
yes.
right? So when Ms. Kuehl is asking you about visiting your girls, is this because you're just saying, I don't want to see my girls, or I don't have time for my girls today?
No.
Is it because you're in a precarious situation that you're trying to get yourself out of?
Yes.
How old are you, Ms. Hersink?
I just turned 22 last Thursday.
Do you FaceTime the girls?
Yes.
A lot was brought up last time about, 30-minute conversations, 28-minute conversations. Is that a long time for two little girls?
Yes. For their age.
Do they lose interest in a while and want to go do something else?
Yes.
As far as the sleeping arrangements go, in your storage facility, do you have furniture for your kids?
Yes.
And so is the blow-up mattress a situation that you're currently doing because you're staying at your dad's house?
Yes.
You're not bringing all your furniture to your dad's house and unpacking, right?
No, not at the moment.
When you were asked about whether your sister could roll over on the girls, these are not infants, right?
No.
We're not talking about a 3-month-old baby who wouldn't be able to handle being in a bed with another person, right? These are kids who are, how old's the youngest?
She'll be 2 next month.
And so basically when they're staying in that room, they're staying with family, right?
Yes.
On the finances, as far as paying child support, if the court awards Mr. Perez primary custody of the girls and you have to pay child support, it will be hard, right?
Yes, very.
Okay. Are you asking for that? I mean, you know that if that does happen, that you'll have to pay something, but are you asking for some consideration, some sort of sliding scale or something where you don't have, where you're able to actually pay child support?
Yes.
Prior to the switch in July, when you guys were doing 50-50 custody, were you taking care of the girls during your time? Were you providing diapers and babysitters and all of those things?
Yes.
Were you guys paying child support back and forth or not paying child support back and forth?
No, we were not.
Who made more money at that time?
Justin did.
And, but still you took care of the girls during your time without assistance from him, right?
Yes.
I pass the witness, Judge.
All right, it's fair.
Yes, sir. Now, Ms. Hearsink, you said that Paisley, she either sleeps on the air mattress with you or she goes to your sister's bed? Or no, she's in the pack and play, or she goes to your sister's bed. Is that correct?
Yes, the pack and play is in my sister's room with her. She is obsessed with her aunt.
Okay. So when she cries in the night, she doesn't go to her mother, she goes to her aunt.
Usually, yes. It's very rare that she cries, but it's...
Okay. And you said that you had to come back to Texas suddenly in November. Is that correct?
Yes.
So your plan was to remain in Colorado?
No. In September, I had to go back to Colorado suddenly. November, from that moment on, I was always planning to come back to Texas.
Okay. So September is when you had to suddenly come back to Texas?
No, when I had to go back to Colorado suddenly.
Okay. So prior to September, you were living here in Texas and you had to suddenly go back to Colorado?
No, I was here visiting.
Okay.
My dad and my sister. And
Okay.
I saw the girls, and then I was planning to get them that weekend and spend time with them, but I had an emergency back in Colorado, so I had to go back.
Okay. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah.
Okay. And when this case began, when I was appointed in 2022, you were living with your dad. Is that correct?
Yes.
Where you're living now?
Yes.
At that time, you were, you had a job that you'd held consistently, I believe at Sonic. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so you were making more money then?
No. I was making the same amount I make now.
Okay. And at that time, were you more stable than you are now?
Yes and no.
What do you mean by that?
Yes, because I still had a car. I think that's probably my biggest and I was able to work more hours.
All right, real quick,
Okay,
ma'am,
so that-
I'm trying to remind myself, were you, I got a couple of people in cases working Sonic. Were you in management at Sonic, or were you just a employee?
So in Texas, I was just an employee, but when I moved to Colorado, I was an assistant manager at Sonic.
Oh, okay, all right. That's
Yeah.
Assistant manager somewhere in this.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. You may proceed, Ms. Sarah. I'm just trying to get my notes straight. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And so at that time, though, you were still living in the same place. You were just working more hours, therefore making more money. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And at that time, you were more stable in the sense that you had a vehicle at that point, correct? And so you said that the vehicle that you were driving at the time that we had the most recent hearing in this case a couple weeks ago, that vehicle your sister wrecked. Is that correct?
Yes, on Christmas Eve.
And then you had a car wreck where you totaled your vehicle a couple months before that. Is that correct? When you were in Colorado?
I was in Texas, but it was back in July, the beginning of July.
Okay, so you were visiting in Texas, but you were living in Colorado at that time.
Yes, I was on my way to my dad's house to visit and see the kids.
All right. And that vehicle was that your vehicle, or was that your husband's vehicle coming into the marriage?
No, it was mine.
Okay. And let's see here. The home that you're living in. Oh, wait, one more question with regard to vehicles. You also wrecked your husband's car in the last, how long?
I did not wreck his car.
In September?
I did not wreck his car.
What happened to his vehicle in September?
In September, don't believe it happened in September, but his old roommate totaled his car. It was not me.
Okay. Do you remember telling Mr. Perez that you wrecked a vehicle while coming home to visit?
Yes, back in July when it was my own.
Okay. All right. And so Ms. Cusack characterizes the situation, and you agreed with her as a precarious situation that you find yourself in now. Is that correct?
Yes.
And, financially right now, you're not stable, correct?
Correct.
Employment-wise, you don't really have a stable career at this point.
No.
You are currently married to one person. You were formerly living with another person, and now you're living back with your dad and your sister, correct?
Yes.
You'd agree with me that placing your daughters in that kind of precarious situation is not the best plan.
Yes.
And so, hopefully a year or two down the road, you hope to be more stable, correct?
It'll be in the next year. That's the whole plan.
Okay. But at this point, you have a precarious situation for your girls.
Yes.
Okay. And for you, when you were testifying on direct examination with Ms. Cusack, your primary concern is that if the court orders child support, it's going to place you in a even more difficult situation.
Yes, that's correct.
Even though you are currently ordered to pay child support that you have not been paying.
Yes.
Okay. And you'd agree with me, it's in your children's best interest to be in a more stable environment until you can stand on your own.
Yes.
Pass a witness.
All right, Ms. Kuehl.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a couple of questions. Ms. Hearsey, when you were talking with your attorney, you had stated that at some point Dad was making more money when y'all were sharing custody and he didn't pay you any child support. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
However, he purchased diapers and formulas and lots of items that the girls needed and sent them with you. Is that correct?
Yes, most of the time.
So he never gave you physical cash, but he provided lots of things for the children whenever you requested or even if you didn't request, he would send them with that. Is that correct?
Yes.
So he was supporting the girls. He just wasn't giving you cash.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not trying to be cocky or rude or anything. I have not ever been to Crockett. So how big is Crockett as a town?
Not very big. It's
okay.
It's probably about a quarter of the size of Temple. There's only like 5 fast food places.
Okay. And so,
Ms. Hersink, how many people live in Crockett now?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay. I was about to say 10, 15,000.
Yeah, I think it's less. It's a pretty small town.
Okay. I was just trying to get a feel, Your Honor, for what's available.
All the the 3 schools are like connected together, so it's pretty small.
Okay. And what is the nearest town? Is there a town nearby that you could go to for, more employment with more hours?
Though, and with not having a vehicle, it's difficult right now.
Okay.
If I had a vehicle, that's where I would be going. They pay a lot more.
Okay. I pass the witness.
All right. Anything on the, I'm not sure what I'm going to call it, redirect, recross, Ms. Kuzak, whatever. Any other questions of the witness down at this time? Yeah,
You're muted.
Yeah.
I keep doing that. I expect it just to automatically pop open whenever I want to speak, but no, Judge, I have no further questions.
All right, then, Ms. Farah, any other questions?
No, sir. No other questions.
All right, then. Well, I guess I'll start over then. Ms. Q, do you wish to call anyone else as a witness at this time?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Does Ms. Kuzak, do you wish to recall Mr. Perez for anything at this time?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Farah?
No, sir. No witnesses.
All right. I got a couple of quick questions for Ms. Hersink. Now, as far as obviously the transportation that woes that y'all are having, 3 car wrecks in 1 year, those are not those are bad odds on getting that happening, but it does. So it did. But at this point, what are you looking at as far as any type of plan to secure transportation? Because again, hoping your dad can fix a wrecked car is not the best plan in the world, man. So,
that's not my plan. I mean, it's as of right now, I'm waiting till tax season so that I can get a car. My credit will not allow me to get one right now. My dad's gonna come with me after New Year's weekend to see if we can figure something out. But there's a lot of little car places here that does like payment plans and stuff. So we're going to try to figure out something now, especially now that his is not drivable at the moment.
And right now, how are you getting around, ma'am?
My grandfather or I walk. I mean, everything's about a 5-10 minute walk at most.
Okay. And what's the nearest town to Crockett that might have and how close?
Near like the big town?
Yeah.
Probably Palestine. It's about 35 minutes from here.
Yeah, I've actually been to court in Palestine back in the day. So yeah, okay. All right. It's not the biggest either, but still, it's definitely
bigger than Crockett at least.
And again, that was 25 years ago, so since I stepped foot in Palestine. So, all right then, ma'am. And do you have any plans of moving closer here to Bell County anytime within the next year, ma'am?
I'm trying to get on look into the housing down there. It's just really hard because I don't live in Temple, so I don't know if they'll allow me to be on the list. But I'm trying, right, even if it's somewhere cheap with a roommate. I have a few friends that live down there, so. But I do plan to be in Bell County by next year.
All right, thank you very much, ma'am. All right, any other witnesses that anyone wishes to call at this time?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
All right, then
No.
I'll go with closing statements at this time, closing arguments, and I will start with Ms. Kuzak, go to Ms. Kuehl, then go to Ms. Hersink, and she wishes to make a closing statement, and then the ad litem. Thank you.
And Judge, since I'm Miss Hearsink's attorney,
Yeah, right. You're right. I keep forgetting that. You had litem, but so yeah, because the incident in the incident in Colorado. Yeah, no problem. So you get
Right.
this. I'll just keep that order, like I said. And yeah. So again, Ms. Hearsenk, you're out of the loop, and just the lawyer did closing statements. Thank you.
I'll add, Judge, as an administrative matter. I messaged Mr. Diamond, or he messaged me. Anyway, we communicated about an order that was in my queue for a long time. There was a temporary order that was in place, that was put in place at not the last hearing, but the hearing before, and then it was in my queue to sign for a while. And so I don't know if that may be the reason why there's an issue with the code, because maybe there wasn't actually an order that was signed yet, so I just want to bring that up, because that would be more my issue, my delay, rather than, I don't want that to fall on my client. So if there's not an order in place, she may not in fact have something set up through the state disbursement unit to be able to pay that support through the system. When I brought up the fact about this is a precarious situation, this is a temporarily precarious situation, and this happens in life. This happens to everyone. People sometimes are in situations that either they control or they could not control, and as a result, they have to make decisions. And so Ms. Hearsink found herself in a situation where her children were hurt. She had to figure out who might have done that. She had to figure herself how to distance herself from that situation, and she did. And if you were to look at this from a CPS standpoint, she's doing everything that you would expect someone in this situation to do. And she's a younger mom. She was 18 years old, I believe we brought up earlier, when the first child, when she became pregnant. So this all happened very quickly after reaching the age of majority. And so what she did is, when she found herself in this situation, she figured out, okay, how do I remove myself? How do I remove my kids? And she's done exactly what we expect her to do. She lives, all this that was brought up about visitation, she lived in Colorado. The standard possession order even presumes that people are not going to meet every 2 weeks. So when a lot was brought up about how she hasn't seen the kids in a month, that's exactly what the standard possession order anticipates in some of these things. And so she's trying her best on that one, again, without a vehicle. The issue was brought up about these car wrecks. There was one that involved her. One. She's not going out there wrecking all these cars. She just has, there aren't a lot of cars to go around, and there are a lot of other adults driving them. And so that has happened. But she's figured out how to fix this situation. She removed herself from the situation. She has no contact. We don't know if the husband was involved or not, but she has no contact with him, with the girls. She doesn't allow contact between the babysitter and the girls. She removed herself from Colorado. She came back home to family where the kids are safe. She is, and even though the kids are on blow-up beds, she has her own furniture. She's paying storage for that. She's got to figure out how to get all of that here, all of that without a car. And, she's made a lot of changes in the last several months. And for some reason, this seems to be, a situation where I just don't know what more we could expect from her at this point. She'll figure out how to make do. She'll figure out how to get this done, because she's been doing this since she was 18. She's going to figure it out. I would ask for the girls to, for there to be a 50-50 possession order. It's what worked before this happened. And when the situation happened, she did all she could. And I feel that it's unfair for this to to fall on her disproportionately. Both of these parents have made mistakes in their lives, and all you can expect someone to do is make the best out of them and turn around and turn a better leaf and do better going forward. And that's all she's done. She would ask for 50-50 possession, just as they had decided that they were going to do before. If that doesn't happen, if the court awards Mr. Perez primary custody, she asks for fully expanded standard possession order with the alternate school pick up and drop off times, and she asked for a soft landing on child support, Judge.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Hugh.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I view the thing that is going on to Ms. Hersink a little different, I think, than Ms. Cusack would. When this case started and I got on, she was here in Texas living with her dad. And everything that has happened, she made those decisions. She made the decision to find a husband online and move to Colorado, not knowing what it was going to be like. She made the decision to leave her husband and go with another boyfriend for a couple of months. She's put herself in this situation. There was no abuse going on. Like I feel like is stated that she had to do what was safe for her and her children. She had no physical abuse from her husband. And when we testified, she told this court that she did not believe her husband was abusive or hurt her children in any way, that it was the babysitter. So she was in a safe home with her husband, and the children were safe because starting on June 9th of this last year, they were in possession of her children. And at our last hearing in September, of Mr. Perez, her plan was to go back to Colorado and work at a job to where she was an assistant manager and making good money so that she could pay her child support and use that money to come see her children and eventually make her way back to Texas. Nobody forced her to leave her husband and go have a relationship with another person. Her husband is not here to testify. But from what Ms. Hersink says, they're not in a terrible relationship. They're not going to get back together. But I don't think they hate each other by any means. And there's any bad blood between the two of them, based on what Ms. Hersink had, testified to and told Mr. Perez as well. My client has been able to keep the same job, the same home, and be stable. Prior to this, all this craziness happening of her moving to Colorado, Mr. Perez and her were doing well. They were working together. They were sharing visitation. She had employment. He had employment. He was assisting by, providing extra formula and diapers and clothing and the things that the girls needed. And Ms. Hersink took herself out of that situation into other situations. I understand life happens, but she is the one that did not put the girls first and put herself first. My client has showed this court over and over that he is putting the girls first. Ms. Cusack asked why he didn't tell Ms. Hersink about relationships. And he said he doesn't have a relationship. He doesn't have time for himself in a relationship because he's taking care of the girls and he's working so he can provide for them. He does have, a history that obviously he understands, but he has done anything and everything he needs to. And since these girls were born, he has stepped up to be the parent that they need. So we're asking that not be, used against him. We understand that Ms. Hersink is in a bad situation right now, and it's some of the events she can't control, like her sister wrecking her dad's vehicle. But that's also not my client's it's not my client's problem. And he has assisted her over and over by meeting her halfway or taking the girls all the way to her, making them available. He wants them to have a relationship with their mother. I honestly, Your Honor, have never seen a dad or a parent that has actually made so much efforts to make sure that the other parent can be involved. And I believe the reason Mr. Perez is doing that is because he knows that's what's best for his girls. And he wants mom to be involved. He does not want them to not have a mother. And I think he will continue doing that. We are asking that he be the primary parent, that the visitation be based on what the court feels is best, but not obviously a 2-week on, 2-week off. because of the distance between the parents and mom not having a reliable vehicle. We are asking that dad not be required to meet Ms. Hearsing more than once a month for exchanges, just so it doesn't affect his employment to be able to provide for the girls, knowing that there's a possibility there might not be much support from mom coming in. He will, do everything he can. And obviously he's already gone above and beyond on what court orders have been in the past to fostering that relationship. And I think he'll continue. I request, Your Honor, that it not be a required, every 2 weeks or something like that they have to meet, because that's going to be an added expense for him and time away from employment. We are asking that if mom, for some reason, moves outside the state of Texas, that the visitations take place here in Texas, or she needs to bring them back to Texas, because my client does have a concern that if she leaves the state of Texas for whatever reason, employment, significant others, whatever that might be, that she might not be able to get the girls back to him, and then he would have that expense of having to travel to another state to get possession back. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Farrer.
Yes, sir. Your Honor, we were in court over a year ago where the parties had 50-50. And if you look at the trajectory they have each had since that time, my concern on behalf of my clients is that Mr. Perez has been consistent in all aspects of his life. As Ms. Kuhl pointed out, there is not, multiple women coming in and out. There are no women coming in and out of his life because his priority is his own stability and his children, which is exactly what a parent's responsibility should be. He's living in the same place with the same job, the same people in his life. The kids are in the same daycare. He provides a level of consistency for these kids that is absolutely necessary, especially at their young age. When this case started, they were on a 50-50. There was more inconsistency in the sense of they had 2 different daycares, 2 different homes, and so forth. But now they're older. The older of these children, she's going to be in pre-K in the coming August. She needs a steady schedule. Children thrive on predictability, schedule, order. And Ms. Hearsink, as a result of the circumstances she is in, the precarious situation she is not able to provide that environment right now. 3-4 years down the road, even 2 years down the road, maybe she will. And I'm hopeful that she will be able to provide that kind of level of care for herself and for her children. But she's not there yet, Your Honor. And generally where there is smoke, there is fire. Unfortunate circumstances happen, but she has made a lot of decisions that have created instability. When all of this started, if she knew she wasn't in the best situation, she was living with her dad, she could have chose to remain where she was and build up, her employment, look into education, look into other options, move to a bigger town, provide stability for herself and for her children. Instead, she chose instability. She chose to move to Colorado. She chose to remain there. And then from there, when that situation went south, instead of coming back to Texas, either to be closer to where the girls were living with Mr. Perez or to be close to her own family, she chose to live with a boyfriend in Colorado. And so, and it wasn't until this November, a month ago, where she moved back here to Texas, back to where she was when all of this began. And so I feel for her. She is 22 years old, Your Honor, but my clients deserve better than to ride on this crazy train that she keeps putting herself on. And so she needs to have contact with her children. I have no doubt that she loves her children, but at this point, she is not making decisions that provide them with safety and stability and the ability to flourish. the situation that occurred with regard to the babysitter and the spanking in Colorado, Your Honor, that was in early June. The fact that, I mean, there are only three explanations. Either she caused those bruises and she's lying. Two, she was not providing care for the children. Somebody else was, her husband or whoever, and she is not telling the truth on that. Or three, she was so neglectful by omission that she flat wasn't paying attention. The pictures speak for themselves, Your Honor. I'm not saying she's a bad person, but these girls deserve better. Your Honor, I have said, pardon me?
I was just on Ms. Hersing, stop the actors in the background. Go ahead and proceed, Ms. Farah. Thank you.
Yes, sir. From the beginning, I had the same reaction to Mr. Perez being a sex offender. It was a knee-jerk concern because my clients are both little girls. However, based on the testimony that we've had at previous hearings, the evidence that's been admitted, this is not a situation where there was any child that was harmed. This is not a situation where there was any kind of inappropriate touching. Mr. Perez, based on the evidence that we have gathered, was 22 years old and was caught in a sting. It's on my solicitation to meet. And I think that the child that was not actually, it wasn't a real person, was a 16-year-old girl. So again, it gives me pause, but under these circumstances, Your Honor, the fact that he has demonstrated very good decision-making since then with regard to his stability, I think that weighs in his favor, and I don't have the concerns that I did for the girls when all of this began. Ms. Hersink saying that she couldn't make the payments, whether it was because the order didn't get entered. I mean, I appreciate that Ms. Cusack fell on the sword, but in every single child support hearing where this argument is made, the immediate concern that we have is, well, did you put the money aside? Is it in a bank account? Were you sending money through Cash App? Were you sending items through Amazon, even across state lines? She didn't do any of that, Your Honor. Her priority at this point is herself. She's just not at a point where she can provide primary care for these girls, even on a 50-50. She's just not there yet, maturity-wise or decision-making-wise. So the other argument she makes is, well, she has other bills. That is the other classic argument that people come before this court time and time again for the entirety of my career. And they say they have other bills that take priority. And she could say all day long that her daughters are priority, but decisions and where you choose to spend your money and where you choose to be, that speaks for itself. And at this point, her concern is herself and doing what she wants to do at the age of 21. She does not view herself as the responsible mother that would do anything for her kids. She views herself as a 22-year-old. I wasn't ready to be a mother at 22, and I don't think that she is ready to make the decisions that are necessary for her girls to be the primary conservator for her children at the age of 22. Your Honor, I ask that the court grant primary conservatorship to Mr. Perez, that Ms. Hersink have visitation with her children, but that there be some safeguards where she can't whisk them away to another state, that she, on the issue of child support, Your Honor, that she provides support for her children. My clients deserve that. This is not about Mr. Perez or Ms. Hersink. This is about two little girls who need to be on a better course. And I believe that Mr. Perez can provide them with that course. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, folks. All right, here's what I got to do on this one. I'm going to have to sit down here and do some math and some calculations because, again, I'm going to go ahead and make a decision on this one. I'm going to make it quickly. but I need to go ahead and do a couple of things before I render that live or one way or the other. So in other words, of course, go take this under a quick advisement. I'm going to look at the current circumstances, the distances. I got to do a little research about Crockett and the area near it. But I'm definitely looking at naming both parties joint managing conservators. But this time I'm going to go ahead and look at naming Mr. Perez as the primary. But I got to tweak it. I got to tweak this whole thing. So again, I'm going to do the tweaking part this afternoon and try to get the rest of that out and see how I want to set this up. Ms. Hurst, here's the deal, ma'am. I had absolutely no problem with you going to Colorado to try to make your marriage work, but obviously that didn't happen. And things just went south after that, and that's on you. There's no way around that. So again, these are the circumstances I got to deal with. This is what I'm going to look at. But anyway, again, I'm going to go ahead and name the dad as the one to name as the primary. I'm probably going to restrict him to Bell and contiguous counties, and I'm going to come up with a plan to try to get something going as far as child support and visitation packages, and it's probably going to be limited to Texas too. But I've got to sit here and figure out how I want to try to set this up, because again, this case is so unique. I've never had to quite do anything quite like this, and so I don't have any forms or anything in a prior order that I can use for this one, because it's in and of itself it's so different. But anyway, I'm gonna try to knock the rest of that out and come up with that current visitation schedule, the ongoing visitation schedule after this. And when are you supposed to exchange the children? When are the children supposed to be exchanged right now?
Your Honor, Mr. Perez is planning to go pick them up this evening or afternoon.
Okay. All right then. So then they'll be back here. And so okay. So they'll be back in Bell County sometime late this evening tonight. All right, got it. All right, folks. Thank you very much. I'm gonna go ahead and just for the sake of this doesn't fall through the cracks, I'm gonna go ahead and reset this, and I'm gonna use the same Zoom code. No one needs to appear on that. I'm hoping to get y'all something in writing on how I want to do everything else, but I'm gonna go ahead and just where it won't fall through the cracks and I don't lose the Zoom code, I'm gonna go ahead and put this on my hybrid docket for next week at 10:45. But only for Zoom. Y'all obviously nobody has to show up live. I think Ms. Farah may be here live next week, no matter what. But and maybe Ms. Kuzak. But the bottom line is, I'm just going to put this on here as a placeholder, so I won't forget that I have to finish everything else up on concerning this case and how I'm going to set up the exchange and everything else dealing with these kids going forward. All right, so at this time, I'll go ahead and let everybody go, and I'll ask, does anyone have any questions based on the ruling I've made so far about the conservatorship?
Your Honor, next week, are you planning on announcing the ruling?
I plan on trying to get you something writing before then, but
okay.
But just to make it, just if it falls through the cracks, or if I decide the judge is going to go out and go down to see his grandkids and hang out with them for the next couple of days, then this is a placeholder for me to make a live ruling. But yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be doing that because they are sugared up right now. I mean, they're wound up from Christmas, so and they don't slow down, and I do. So there you go. So.
And so Judge, are you setting? Sorry. Are you setting that for the 3rd or the 4th?
The 3rd.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Kuzak.
Judge, I did have a question about what was brought up after I made my closing about visitation and something about the state of Texas. To be clear, this isn't a travel restriction, right? I don't believe that we discussed that before. Are they discussing that maybe with that one pick up and meet up at the halfway, that one only happen that if both parties live in Texas?
I'm looking at restricting the visitation to Texas, Ms. Kuzak, and I'm looking on the maps to figure out how I want to set it up and to confirm that everybody's going to be where they're supposed to be. But the bottom line is, I'm not looking. I'm definitely not looking at allowing mom to have visitation as she leaves the state of Texas. As for visitation is going to be restricted to either probably Bell County, contiguous counties, or her county, her home county of Crockett. So, but for right now, she goes back to Colorado. I'm I'm not going with visitation in Colorado going forward. If she and dad agree to something, that's fine, but I'm going to come up with the package I'm going to use. It's going to be restricted to the state of Texas, Bell and contiguous counties, Houston and contiguous counties, and I mean Houston County because that's where Crockett is. So, yeah. Next question, Ms. Kuzak.
That was it, Judge.
Okay. All right, Ms. Farrer, anything else, ma'am?
No, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, Ms. Farrer.
No, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, folks, I'm gonna go ahead and, like I said, try to wrap this one up and get y'all something out in writing as far as the rest of the package concerning child support and visitation, and we're off the record. Thank you.